All right, so here I want to talk about how do you round numbers, or how do I round a number? The first thing you're going to think about really is why. Like, why? Why would I bother rounding to numbers? Well, rounding a number might take a number like 1,572, and you say, oh, well, that's about 1,600. And that's just so it's easier to use and work with and think about. Say I'm thinking of saving money and there's something I want to buy that costs $1,572. When I'm setting that goal, I might just start out saying I need about $1,600, and that can be my goal to set as to where to go, because 1,572 was there. Maybe you're at the store and you see some stuff that costs like 563, 299, 107. I can round all these and say, okay, well, that's going to be about $6. It's going to be about $3, and that's going to be about $1. So my total cost will be 6 plus 3 plus 1, which is going to be $10. And that estimate helps you better, budget yourself and think, without necessarily getting out a calculator or sitting at a piece of paper and pencil and adding all these numbers up. You can quickly, in your head while at the store, work through it. Now, let's get into it. Now, there's plenty of other reasons to round, but those are a couple quick ideas. Now, we're going to kind of move on to the how do we do that? How did I get from 563 to 6, 299 to $3, 107 to 1? What is it that made me choose that? Why would I do that? And then how? How do you round numbers? All right, here we are. So let's say we have a number like, oh, 3,782,000, 123. It's 3,782,123. And I'm like, okay, I need to save this many whatevers, or maybe, I mean, I like money. That's one of my favorite things. So I might think, maybe this is money, whatever. You want to round it. And you could either you want to round a higher place value. So I'm thinking either millions or hundred thousands, depending on what your use is. I'll start here in the hundred thousands and round to that first. So let's kind of look at the 7 here. And I'm like, let's round 100,000. So first I check here next to it in the 10,000s, and I say you have an 8. Well, the 8 is going to say to round up because it's closer to the next place value. The general rule that I go by is 0 to 4 hit the floor, which means you round down. But if you have 5 to 9, you climb the vine. And this isn't really my rule. I can't take credit. A student taught it to me a few years ago. 0 to 4 hit the floor, 5 to 9 climb the vine. And so I look here, the 8 says to go up. So what I do then is, since I'm climbing the vine, the 7 actually becomes great. It becomes an 8. Everything to the left of it stays the same. That's going to stay the same. And then everything to the right of it just becomes a 0, because the zeros are a little bit easier to work with. So I have about 3,800,000. Easier to say. Another way to write this, because some people just want to say 3.8 million when you're dealing with these big numbers. So it's 3.8 and they know it's million, which really means 3,800,000. You could also round this to the nearest millions place. To do that, you would just look again at that 7. You'd go next door to the 3. The 7 is 5 to 9 climb the vine, so the 3 becomes greater, and you say it's 4 million. And that would be your number. But notice, depending on what you choose, you get different answers. 3,800,000 is different than 4 million. It's less. The lower the place value you choose to, the more accurate the number, but it depends on how accurate an answer you need. Now I'm going to show you an example where you would round down and how that works a little bit differently. So I'll leave this little hint right here. I'll bring that with me, and I'll slide over. Okay. So rounding down, say I have a number like 11,287,000. and we'll just go 123 because we're not going to round to these place values, which means no matter what, these are going to be zeros. I could even just make them zeros in the number. Let's look here. We have 11 million. So this one I would probably just choose to just round to the millions place and keep it because it's easy to say 11 million. And that's not too hard to work with. You could round to the 10 millions place. And real quick, I would look next door. I have a 1. So since I have a 1 next to the 10 millions place, that says 0 to 4, hit the floor. Hit the floor does not mean go down in the next digit. It means to keep this digit the same, but it means to make your number smaller. So when I write this number down here, you keep the 1 in the tens millions place the same and turn everything else to a 0. But notice that 10 million is less than 11,287,123. We're less. We got smaller. So we did round down. We did hit the floor. But this place stays the same. It does not actually decrease. That's the biggest mistake that you see people make, and I've done it too, is you think, oh, I'm rounding down. Okay, I got to make this number lower. No. Rounding up increases. Rounding down keeps the digit before the same. So let's now round instead of there. Let's round to the 10 to the millions place. So we have 11. So I'm going to keep this number the same. And then I look at the 1, I look next door to the 2. 0 to 4, hit the floor. So it's going to be, oops. It's going to stay the same because 0 to 4 hit the floor. So it's going to stay 11 million. And then everything else becomes zeros. I mean, depending on what you're working with, there's a difference between these two, just based on the place value alone. When I went back one place value, I made a difference in my rounding by a 1 million, from 10 million to 11 million. It all depends on what you're working with. You got to use the context of your situation to figure out what the best way to round. Generally, when you're presented with rounding, you're probably going to be, told a problem. Round to the nearest 100,000s, or round to the nearest 10,000s, in which place you look at your 100,000s, you go next door, see what it says to do. Or your 10,000s, you go next door, see what it says to do. 0 to 4, hit the floor. 5 to 9, climb the vine. That is how we round, and I hope you get also why we round.